Hello, today we're going to review solving two-step equations. We've been solving two-step equations all school year. You already have notes on this topic in your notebook, so if you need to look at extra examples, make sure you take that out. And please take out a sheet of paper and something to write with. You can't do these just by looking at it. You have to actually follow step by step with what I'm doing in each problem. Remember, solving an equation means you are finding the value of the variable. In the example, negative 3x plus 6 equals 18. X is our variable. We're trying to figure out what number we can multiply negative 3 by, add it to 6, and have it equal 18. Negative 3 is called the coefficient. It is the number that is being multiplied by the variable. And positive 6 and 18 are called the constants. When solving two-step equations, your first step is to move the constant that is next to the variable by adding or subtracting. Your second step is to isolate the variable by multiplying or dividing. We use inverse operations to solve. That means adding and subtracting are opposites and will undo those operations. Same thing with multiplying and dividing. They will undo each other's operations. Again, please make sure you have something to write with and a sheet of paper. I'll wait. Two x subtract 5 equals 11. Our first step in solving this equation is getting rid of any adding or subtracting that is taking place next to our variable. If I cover up the 2x, it's easy to see we have to get rid of subtracting 5. The opposite of subtracting 5 is adding 5. And what we do to one side of our equation, we must do to the other side. We'll bring back our 2x and continue to solve this problem. 2x will be brought down. Subtracting 5 and adding 5, or if you want to think about it as negative 5 and positive 5, they're opposites, so they'll cancel out to 0. And 11 plus 5 equals 16. Our last step is to isolate our variable. We have to get rid of multiplying 2 times x. So the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. And again, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So our x value is just 1x or just x. 16 divided by 2 is 8. X equals 8 is our answer. 6x plus 8 equals 50. Our first step is to get rid of any adding or subtracting that is taking place next to the variable. If I cover up the 6x for a moment, it's easy to see we have to get rid of adding 8. So the opposite of adding 8 is subtracting 8. And what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side. We'll bring down 6x. Positive 8 and negative 8, or adding 8 and subtracting 8, either way you think about it, they're opposites and they cancel out to 0. 50 subtract 8 equals 42. Our last step is to isolate our variable. We have to get rid of 6 times x. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is dividing by 6. And again, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. So we're left with 1x, or just x, equals 42 divided by 6, which equals 7. X equals 7. Negative 4x plus 9 equals 21. The first step in solving this equation is to eliminate any adding or subtracting taking place next to our variable. If I cover up the negative 4x for a moment, you can see we have to get rid of the adding 9. The opposite of adding 9 is subtracting 9. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you must do to the opposite side of the equal sign. When we solve, we'll bring down negative 4x, positive 9 and negative 9, or adding 9 and subtracting 9 are opposites and cancel out to 0. 21 subtract 9 equals 12. Our final step is to isolate our variable. We want to eliminate the negative 4 being multiplied by the x. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 4 is dividing by a negative 4. When we solve, negative 4 divided by negative 4 cancel to become a positive 1. We're left with 1x, or just x. 12 divided by a negative 4 equals negative 3. X equals negative 3. Let's solve one more problem, but this one's going to look a little different. X divided by 2, subtract 7, equals 9. We're going to follow the exact same steps we did with the last problems. The first step is to get rid of any adding or subtracting taking place next to our variable. Let's cover up x divided by 2 for a second. And it's easy to see we have to get rid of subtracting 7. The opposite of subtracting 7 is adding 7. And what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. When we solve this problem, we're going to bring down x divided by 2. Positive 7 and negative 7, or subtracting 7 and adding 7, are opposites and cancel out. And 9 plus 7 equals 16. This one might take a little bit to think about how to solve. We have to get rid of x divided by 2. So the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So 2 multiplying and 2 dividing will cancel each other out. So we're left with x equals 16 times 2. 16 times 2 equals 32. X equals 32. Now it's your turn to practice. There is no option for Pearson because this is a review, so you have to go to Teams and complete the two-step equation practice in Forms.